Well, good morning, everybody. Trusty old Crow's back, doing another T Triple C, my customs corners stuff there. Working on some new customs, working on some stuff for Grievance here, actually. Stuff inspired by Grievance and stuff that Grievance won. But yeah, I thought I'd hop on here today and just talk about some stuff that's been coming up. As you guys know, I did that hashtag May the Power of the Force stuff. That little video I did, little 26 and 2 day, and it was a long video, uh, longer than probably I wanted it to be by about 5 minutes. But it was what it was, guys. It was even when I'm editing, I'm one taking. If I don't like the first shot, I do a second shot or a third shot, but I don't go too deep into it. I take the law of averages or I cut it out. So yeah, it was a ridiculous little piece. I tried to remember you got to review the figure in there, but I had fun. Thanks for your support on that. And like I said, that was just more for the spirit of the event was let's have fun with this. So I think we're all having fun with this, and I am not the only guy that made a video having fun. Check out Wraith Mace, check out Kenzo, check out all the guys that have gone so far. Most definitely check out Aaron the Toy Enhancer's review for his hashtag May the Power of the Force contribution tonight at 8 o'clock. He'll be streaming live his mystery figure. And if you know Aaron, the way we all know Aaron, the way I know Aaron, and the way 3 Star knowing Aaron, it's not only just going to be an amazing video, and it's not only going to give you your typical Aaron the Toy Enhancer look at his character. um he's got surprises, and it's just trying to get ahead of it. Don't bother. Don't bother anticipating what he does. Okay, if you couldn't anticipate what I was going to do, you're not going to anticipate what Aaron's going to do. It's just the law of averages. Just kick back, get some popcorn, and enjoy it. I am making a night of it. So what are we talking about today, guys? Well, one thing I got asked about, I got sent an email about it, and it was like, you know what, I might as well just make a video about it. It was explain the end state. And to that person or people that asked about it, I'll send you a little write up. I mean, I'll eventually make a write up for it, because it does, if I'm going to talk about it, it does need the explanation given to it. But guys, I mean, it's one of those guys things that you grow up with when you read comics and you wanted to go make a career out of doing comics, which was initially what I was after when I went to college, right? Graphic design and writing and all that stuff. I did a lot of courses in that, and I enjoyed that stuff. My mind always worked that way because I didn't know it at the time, but I had the severe ADHD, so my mind was processing a more interesting place where I didn't just understand things like the Marvel universe or the GI Joe universe or things like that. Um, I could picture how they all operated. I could see what wasn't being shown, right? I could think about that. And so, you grow up, you wanted to do that. Didn't work out for college, didn't work out for money. I wasn't a guy with a lot of advantages in life, I'll say that. And so army, right? Army. Army. 25 years. So, am I still trying to go be a comic guy or go work for Hasbro or anything like that? No, not really. I'm just trying to enjoy my retirement, right? Like that's it. That's what the YouTube channel thing was. But I did see suddenly, instead of drawing characters on a sketchbook, I could do what I wanted to do with my hands and create them, and I could hold them and turn them around like I do with these, right? So that was something I learned as I started collecting classified, started seeing guys doing conversions. I was like, that looks very rewarding personally, right? Uh, it's not rewarding personally, shaving your beard off. Now my face is cold and I don't know why. Anyways, so my end state stuff is really just brain canon. I like the idea of and it's not a slight at all against a country. Okay, it's a slight at all against a society. No, it's more the idea of what if somebody planned for a very long time to have a world leading country, like the top country as far as a lot of people would view it, as far as superpowers go, and make them re-earn their place, by putting them through what the third world nations go through with, like, apartheid, war, illness, conflict, drought, famine, riots, crime, a lack of support, things like that, warlords, all that other stuff. It was just that kind of idea, because what it allowed you to do is look at, what happens when a supply line gets interrupted and, low light can't replace that uniform. What's he wear after that? Oh, that's a fun thing to paint. There you go. Or what happens if we send guys to this region, in the desert? Well, okay. What if they needed that? Okay, well, that guy's never dressed in arid CAD. That sounds like fun. Let's paint that guy in arid CAD pad. Okay, it's that kind of thing. And it's an excuse to do that stuff, right? So what ends up happening is my mind applies a process of battle procedure, which are videos I am going to go back to. I got to finish off my 16 steps of battle procedure, because we're getting to the parts that really apply to how my process works. And it's called the estimate. And it's looking at a figure and saying, okay, what do I know about this figure? It's got this many parts, but the articulation is loose here. But, it's this shoulder pad's going to cause a rub. Then I ask, okay, well, that's a good point. Shoulder pad's going to cause a rub. So what? It's always so what. And what you're doing is you're asking so what until you come up with what you need to do about it, right? So I'd be like, shoulder pad's going to cause a rub. So what? So I know that the figure's core color of the plastic is black. Yeah, so what? So black will rub and show through any color that I apply here. Yeah, so what? So is there an opportunity to fix that where that's not noticeable because I can't avoid rub? Yeah, okay, so what? So where is it? So it's by the shoulder. It's this shoulder pad here. If I paint this black, and perhaps if I do the trim of her vest black, where it denotes a black undersleeve, and definitely, at least this part of the fabrics that I rub, if I can incorporate a black or a dark gray into that coloring somehow, great. If I have to have color on there, all right, I have to keep so whatting until I'm like, okay, well, the so what is I have to make sure that I put a nice protectorant layer heavy on the joints, or I don't move the joints, or I put maybe something over like a brassard or something, or maybe a cloak to cover these areas if I'm not concerned about it. And that's really what the process of the estimate does, is you are asking questions on things until you come up with a good deduction that you need to do and incorporate into your plan, right? Like such as, I want there to be a black region incorporated into this pink. Okay, there you go. What's the next problem? Next problem is blah, blah, blah. And you do the exact same process till you're done with the fig. All right, and I'll talk about that on my next battle procedure video, which will be coming soon. I just took a break to get the Star Wars of the Force done. So what figure am I working on right now? I wonder if you guys can say it in the comments eventually. This is going to be part of that new batch of, like 2 or 3 dirty kit quick ones. Some will just be a head that I added to a different body, or a couple of different accessories on an old fig, or some will be complete repaints of a fig in a kit bash or a custom like this one. This one is another one, and guys, I've got to say it enough. This one's another one that I had to get educated about by JLS Comics. If you guys aren't watching JLS Comics breakdown of every G.I. Joe that you see on your little YouTube menu, you're doing yourself a disservice, because it's a very, very television-like read. It's about 20 minutes at best, usually on average. Anywhere between 15 to 25 minutes is what you're looking at. And he gives you the full breakdown, not just of the toy lore, but the character lore, the comic lore, when they've switched properties from IDW back over to this other comic line. Okay, well then he covers both of those comic lines. The cartoons he'll cover, all that stuff. And, he gives an amazing breakdown of the characters. But I've learned of characters that I never knew about before. So I am doing those. Why? Well, I'm not doing all of them. I know that I want to do a Billy Kessler. Of course I do. And I know guys want Billy Kessler in the Hasbro line, right? I know that I want to do guys like a Fred 7, of course. Like everybody does a Fred 7. Of course I want to do one as well, right? But Laura 343 would be another one. You know, just characters that come from the other canon that wasn't really known by the common Joe audience of from the toy market, right? It was known by the dedicated comic collectors and the diehard enthusiasts who stuck around after it went to Valor versus Venom and things like that. So when I was doing my conversions and I laughingly did a 2-pack of Big Brawler and Wreckage for Tiger Force. And that was several months ago now, or a few months ago now. I shouldn't say several months ago. I keep thinking I've been around longer than I have. I really haven't. Um, anyways, when I did those, my working intent was to create some characters that I didn't think Hasbro was going to pump out the line anytime soon. And then, of course, later, you know, they did do Wreckage and they released them with the Tiger Paw. And I'm not upset about that because, you know, okay, my Wreckage didn't look as good as theirs, so I'm going to buy theirs anyways. And it gave me an opportunity that I saw to maybe rework that figure I had done into either a normal non-Tiger Force Wreckage or something else, right? And that's the fun of conversion. Waste not, want not, right? Anyways, yeah, so the characters that I think Hasbro are going to do is all of them and any of them, and I have no idea, right? I have no idea who's going to be released what. And I know that they have an assessment rubric that they go off of based off feedback and market research and all these other things that you don't see in a Hasbro Live Pulse representation with Emily, Tony, and Lenny. You don't see the research part and the conversations that are happening in that division's main boardroom when they're talking about the figs that they can do and all the price assessments and all the other factors that they have to weigh. Those aren't the common knowledge. What is common knowledge is the amount of criticism that comes back afterwards about how information gets delivered and everything like that. And it's kind of an annoying thing because it shows a really kind of myopic perspective out there that everybody thinks somebody else's job is easy because you just showed me something I didn't like and you didn't stop it from happening. And I'm talking, of course, about, you know, stupid things that come out of people's mouths at a time. And you have to go, well, that was the dumbest thing you could have said. And then people form an opinion about that, right? We've seen it with Hasbro's teams when they release stuff and maybe they don't answer a question the way we like. There's the example you need, right? And moreover, maybe they look unapologetic about it. And you think, that person's an asshole. That person's an idiot. Oh my God, they're the worst person for that job. Get someone else. And I'm telling you guys, this is no different than when we had an incident happen in the military and there was a press release about it. And we would get this brief package if we were anywhere around it as to what the public needed to know and what they shouldn't know to protect operational security and our operations, which would mean protect the safety of the people that we have in certain places by not leaking stupid information that doesn't need to be known at this point. It's very common. And you know what? The Army isn't the only thing that does it. Every corporation does it. Every big business does it. And you know how they do it? By having a spokesman that they can go, we don't really know how to talk to the public very well. We're not very social. It's kind of what we're paying you to do. We're also paying you to have the graces of understanding the information that's being shown to you and being able to speak to certain parts of it on the fly. Oh, but here's a list of things you're not to go near. And by the way, your stance on some of these are going to be zero. Like zero stance, okay? The reason they do that is they have investors, they have stakeholders, they have all these other things, and some of those have political ties, some of those have other ties. They all have an interest, right? Or they have plans in the working that might, if leaked early, spark a competition to do stuff. Or, right? And it's all about protecting their spreadsheet on the stock exchange, what their company is worth, and all these other things, and that they're not taking losses. And if they start getting uncomfortable with their relationship with their stakeholders, what do you think the losses look like, right? It's layoff season again. So I don't know, man. To sit there and say that what I saw in front of a camera when I watched a pulse stream was a perfect example of why this person is terrible. I'm like, holy crap, man! You saw what you were allowed to see. You know, do you honestly believe that like the bad guy in the TV show when the script goes off, he walks away, he's still the bad guy. He wanted to fight the hero. He wanted to kill the favorite character. You know, he wanted to be the scumbag in the show and he walks off that way because that's exactly what it sounds like when I hear people talking about certain people and when they see it, right? But I'll digress. That's just stuff I see in the chats where it's like, yeah, that is worth me putting my piece on, but my God, I'll be typing all day. Anyways, do I agree with everything Hasbro puts out on their releases and how they handle it? No, I don't. I get upset just like everybody else, and I'm like, why aren't you talking about this? I'm blah 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 blah. But do I see a target on any of them because of the way they're saying it and carrying it out? No, because I know behind us, we're watching them on stage. There's the camera, and behind that camera is a bunch of people above them going, "Don't fuck this up." Right? You're live. Don't screw this up. If you screw this up live, there'll be consequences, right? You know, it's their jobs. And they do them, all right? And whether you think they do them well or they do them not, just remember you're collecting a toy, okay? You're not investing your family's fortune in a market here. So chill. Okay. Yeah, sorry. Maybe that was rude to say it like that, but really, there's some people that just act like their whole lives are riding on this misrepresentation that they're seeing. And I think it's a bit over the top sometimes. Anyways, speaking of over the top, what's over the top is a certain group that I used to support openly on this channel that I don't anymore. And the reason I do is because there's a real misconception and toxicity that they are trying to start about YouTube toy tubers who even talk about them, right? Even make reference to them. Here's the thing. You put yourself out there as a channel and you make a big production about yourself and you let everybody know you're the place to go for information. And it works. We come in, we're new to Joe, we're new to the classified line, and we find you. Your new channel, your grand channel. And you are what you say. You give us new information, you give us stuff to think about, and you format it well. Great. But when you start saying that you're the best and everybody else is a liar that hates you, is a loser, is this, that, the other thing, when you make big projections and you've been wrong, but you go back and you do editing in your channel, right, to change the fact that you were wrong, and this happens. You can deny, but it happens. Yeah, like what the hell? To call us all losers and brag about your relationship with a like your channel and everything, and say you've got this community going. You don't even understand the community, for one, as a channel, the way that this particular channel is. I'm not saying there ain't, because everybody knows who I'm talking about right now. Everybody. But they don't think I do. They don't think they do, right? But listen to that channel rant on about how much they provide the community and how lucky the community is to have them. And then call other YouTubers who have an audience double dipping, monetized, and corrupt losers. What the hell? At what point does a YouTube channel get monetized, guys? It's not just about having a minimum of 500 subscribers. It's not. It's about the amount of view time, hours watched, how much content you're putting out there. There's criteria. And you don't see a red cent before any of that even offered to you on your channel. And it could take guys a year, 2 years, 3 years before that ever happens. And I've talked to some big channels, and you want to know what their monthly monetization looked like for some of the channels you see almost every day with much bigger subscribers than me? But 38 to 50 bucks. Do you know how much they spent on postage, mailing out contest prizes and special things for the channel and just doing business for that channel? Hundreds. Actually, hundreds. But yeah, we're losers because we don't like being talked down to, and we don't like people being liars about shit that they actually bring up themselves and then change, or stirring the pot to just kind of spread a lie, a flat out lie. I'm done with that channel. I'm done talking about that channel. If that channel ever engages me, they'll get a dial tone on my end. And they were somebody I used to kind of really try to promote. So screw them. There's my opinions on that. Anyways, that took up more time actually than I wanted it to. Another thing I'm working on today, guys, is Crimson Castle. Frank Castle into the Cobra Crimson Guard kind of deal. This was kind of one thing that Grievance wanted for his prize. He wanted a crossover between the Cobra element and the Marvel element in the form of Frank Castle, of which he's a big fan. So I am working on some stuff. I have, I've got Loki. He's dealing with some stuff right now, but I have told him like we're gonna get an order together for these heads, this chest. Like we'll get there. That order is probably. I'm thinking it's going to start either this week or next week because he and I have been talking. But I've got the fig and the pieces put aside. I'll prime that on Thursday and I'll start on the figure. But again, the figure is going to be something that'll just be revealed. There won't be a progress on it. But one thing I will show is I'm starting things like the base for it, right? And I'm trying to incorporate a certain concept we were working with and seeing how that would work. So I might give him a couple of bases. What I'm looking at is the box. I want to have a figure in a box. I want to have his new figure that I go out and buy him, even though he says he doesn't need one. Okay. Which trooper builder should I aim for then? But I'll have another discussion. Maybe he's thought of a couple he needs by now. And then like a couple of different choices, I mean. Anyways, I just picturing the size of the box, and I thought I wanted a couple of bases to slide in and then build his walls upon those bases. So I'll be using magnets and stuff like that. But yeah, big Punisher / Cobra type emblem on the bottom. He'll have his choice, I think. We'll go with that. So that's what I'm working on there. And then adding more to the 500 subscriber wall thing that I'll eventually give away. But yeah, back to the end state stuff. So the idea of the end state was also really helped out by Grievance through the Wolverines. So I showed you the other day, and this is more to the example of the brain cannon stuff. One Wolverine got done out of the intent was to use background characters like cheap dollar store and stuff that I get in the bag with my thrift finds for the 6-inch stuff that maybe don't make good G.I. Joe characters, but might make good background characters, as in when you're taking a photo of this one's blurred in the background. It looks like your shelf is very populated. But I based that off the Charlie Sheen Wolverines, which was like Wolverines from the movie Red Dawn, which was a suggestion made by Grievance one night. And it always stuck in my head. I was like, that was brilliant. So in order to incorporate that into a Joe shelf, because I wanted more things on my Joe shelf, it allowed me to sit there and go, okay, well, what if Red Dawn happened in a Joe-verse? What would happen? What would that look like? And then it's like, okay, well, how does that look like if you would apply this to the end state idea? And it'd be like, okay, well, the whole thing happens on a state where it's been broken off, and then Joe's got to go and try and, find out more about this batch of kids acting as a resistance or whatever, right? But you could have the crossover, but who would they send? Would people fluke into them? What would their actual disposition look like? And then Crimson Cobra Commander wanted Frank Castle. I was like, okay, now apply that to Marvel. Right? So, yeah, it opened up some ideas, but you don't want to ever go heavy-handed with that. Like, I'm not going to sit there and put Iron Man and the Avengers on my Joe shelf. But ones or twos, yeah, that's a fun idea. So, Loki's giving me a Wolverine head. I'm going to do a Wolverine for the Wolverines, maybe. Many of us have talked about Snake Plissken. There's always been a role for Snake Plissken. I finally have the body. That'll be one of my quick and dirties, I think. But going back, JLS, I need to know more about Mayday. And I've got to look up to see if he's done one on Mayday, because I think he did. But Mayday is a lesser known Joe by most of us because she is actually from the G.I. Joe Extreme line, the super jacked post, right? But I thought, what if it was Mayday that linked up with the Wolverines early, right? And so I had a Loki Wartooth head, and I just threw that on that Star Wars body and those Fortnite legs, and now I have 2 Wolverines done the way I want, and I'm going to work on Andy next, and a couple of others I have some ideas for. But if I want to throw in other lines, there's my opportunity. I just throw them in with the Wolverines, right? But yeah, that's how the brain cannon is working. For those who have asked, can you explain it a little bit? And where Canada falls in the whole thing with the U.S. is like, hey guys, it's like Punk said, 53rd state pretty much. I'm Canadian, and I've always looked at that because of the influence the States has over us on our economy, our resources, all these other things. And while Canada tries to maintain its own identity, and I think we do a fair job of doing that, I think we're often misunderstood, but we are your allies in the States, right? What happens to one happens to the other just simply because we are neighbors. Unfortunately, it would probably also happen to Mexico, right? See, I said that, Mexico. Mexico would also suffer, right? Okay. What else does it open up? It opens up the idea of doing backgrounds. It opens up the idea of doing art, all this stuff, right? Now, a lot of guys do this, and they don't really talk about it because, you know, they're like, man, it's my private thing. And I'm like, yeah, I don't give a shit if it's my private thing or not. It's a fun thing to talk about. It's Joe relevant. And, if anything, it inspires people to talk about it a little bit more, which would inspire people to go with their ideas and maybe build more, right? I love hearing the feedback that because I shared something, it inspired something out of somebody else to do something. I love that. It makes it worthwhile sharing it. So yeah, I can share concept of end state. I can tell you about, why certain teams are formatted away on my shelf, why I went with certain CAD pads for certain people and not for others. Do I see a story revolving around a certain character on a shelf, things like that. And why I'm bringing in characters we've never seen, because you consider this my warning that Hasbro's going to do exactly the same. If you think you're going to see all traditional characters and everything like that, I think by now you're starting to figure out you're wrong when you see things like Wolf Spy or Helix. They have a goal, and the goal is to be a little unpredictable about it and keep you talking about it, right? And I think Hasbro's achieving that. And I think they're achieving that with the team they have and the buzz they create. Even if that buzz is about how much you didn't like the conversation they gave you, it's still buzz, right? So guys, I think I'm gonna leave it at that. Yeah, there was a little bit of a bitch fest on that one, but hey, I was really lighthearted doing those videos, so I get a break, right? And I shaved my beard. I have regrets. the hair's coming soon, guys. But yeah, so this will be one that I learned about through JLS Comics. If you guys can guess who it's going to be, you just put that down in the comments. But yeah, that's just how it's starting. And I'm going to end on the other one I'm going to try out. Loki Wartooth has bodies that he has access to for files, right? And I know he's really busy right now, and he's kind of, I think, he give Loki time, he satisfies every time, right? Try to rush Loki. No, don't. Loki's dealing with enough of Russians right now, I guess. But nobody's trying to rush him. I'm just saying I wouldn't want to rush him, but yeah, I wouldn't want to rush him. But I also don't like talking negatively about his products, right? But let's be reasonable on when we do see something. He makes amazing everything, right? And this figure is amazing, okay? And it is a fully 3D printed, and it was made affordably. I got it with the greatest of intentions. He actually gave me a couple of these that I didn't ask for, but I did buy one for my stalker. But I'm not going to use this for my stalker. I am going to use this for something. But just one thing I've noticed, and this isn't a slight against Loki's quality. There's nothing you can do about this. That, you know, it's not because it's resin and it's 3D printed and you assemble it, you know, in a similar thing, you're gonna have looseness, right? So I don't care, but I'm just warning, like, ask how to make tighter. Loki has probably 1,000 strategies, probably, or at least a couple on something. So I was like, okay, well, that was an acceptance that I knew. I was like, yeah, there's got to be something. Like, it won't be as tight as a Joe Fig. I knew that. So although it's loose, it's still awesome. And because it's kind of loose, it's actually super, super posable. Like, all sorts of poses are possible with this. Like, some that are even not possible or not as easy to do with classified because they put tension on some of that added parts that you have, and therefore there's resistance and things like that. But they are super posable, right? So I know exactly who I'm making out of this one, and but what I'm gonna do to tighten the stuff up is I have an add-on feature I've been dying to try. So what I'm talking about is, I think to go with my V2 stalker, I might do an Arctic Lowlight out of this figure, just to have on my shelf in constant prone positions or combat positions. But I'm gonna work a ghillie suit for him. Ghillie suit is a sniper's camouflage cover suit, and a special rifle for him and things like that. So alrighty, 3 little quick dirty kit bashes while I work on Cobra Crimson Commander, and while I have some other vehicles that I'm finishing up in my Mad Dogs, like my Turtles. Me and Turkish have been talking. We're doing the same thing, same as Legends. So that's awesome. I'm going to end this on just a reminder, guys. We have a live coming up this Wednesday. I think it's 9 p.m. Eastern. Me and the Backyard boys, Aaron and 3-Star, are going to get together. And we're going to have a great night talking about some cool topics we've been talking. I know what it is. I don't want to ruin it. But bring your nostalgia hats. Bring your favorite Joes. Bring your coffee. Bring a whatever. And join us on Wednesday as well. And just a reminder, the Crow's Nest, the door's still open. Anybody who ever wants to practice doing a live before they do one on their channel, if you are set up for live, or you just want to get out there and get your face in the community on someone else's channel for a bit and talk about Joe stuff or toy related stuff, hit us up here at the channel in my channel description. The email's there. Send me an email. Just say I want to do a Crow's Nest, and I'll hook up and we'll do a dry run Crow's Nest the same way we did with Legends series last week. And thanks again, Tony, for joining me on that one. Anyways, guys, I gotta get back at it. You guys have a great day. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow.